Hello and welcome back to the Becoming Relentless podcast. I am your host, Noa McCabe, and I am joined by my lovely co-host,
Danielle Kusenberger.
We are back
Every time.
every week.
a little woohoo.
Woohoo.
You know what's funny? My grandma has this, it's like a woohoo. What do you call that? A noise. She has this noise that she does. And it's like a running family joke. It's literally just like that.
Aw,
Yeah.
I'm channeling grandma.
You
I love it.
remind me of my grandma very much.
Thank you. I think that's a compliment.
It's y'all are so like peaceful and calm. Yeah. You definitely have grandma vibes in a very nice way.
Dude, I love that. I actually love that. I think people underestimate grandmas. We're very wise.
Grandma vibe.
Yeah.
That should be a discount code if you're coaching. Anyone that listens, if they use that hashtag in the coaching discount, they get.
Dude, I would actually love
off.
that. If you apply for my coaching, put hashtag grandma vibes and I'll give you a discount. 100%. That's hilarious.
Mm-hmm. That's funny.
Grandma vibes. So how are you? How are you doing?
Oh, I'm great. There have been a lot of mental changes. And I am the best I have been. I've also, so this is, what day are we in? We're on Wednesday?
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday, so on Saturday was my first day in my, I don't want to say new chapter because that's just weird. Day one, right? Mm-hmm. But it was just like, I had some tough conversations throughout last week, and Saturday was my last tough conversation setting boundaries with certain people. And I've hung out by myself every day since Saturday, and only myself. I hung out with Justin for an hour and a half once, and I hung out with Jill for an hour for a meeting. All the other time is just me and myself, and I've never done that before. So I'm very excited. I usually, like I said, I've been resenting that, and now I'm just really, like I said, I say no to plans because I'd rather hang out with myself. That's where I'm at in my life.
Like you're trying to embrace that time.
But it's just like, I don't want to hang out with anyone else. Like you could offer me to hang out with any single person. And as much as I love everyone, I'd rather just hang out with myself tonight kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so being in that position and not like forcing it, but more so just like, this is what I want to do. It's just a really fun place to be.
Yeah. I like that a lot. It's very powerful. And I think in a prep setting is like when I find myself in that as well. But I'm really excited to try and do that coming out of a prep and like in this next phase for myself too. So that's very inspiring.
It's funny because Sage asked me earlier, she asked me a question about my off season. And I was telling her I'm really excited to go through my off season or season not in prep in the same mood, because I don't feel like this mood of, I want to be around people more is going to change. I feel like I'm going to be in the phase that I'm in terms of rather just kick it with myself at night and do whatever I want to do for a long period of time. Mm-hmm. I'm so excited for you to experience that in this like off season for you as well.
Yeah. There's like a little bit more like flexibility in what I can do too. I'm like looking at restaurants and like dessert places.
Mm-hmm. You take yourself there.
I'm excited.
It's
I'm very
so
excited.
Fun. It is so, it's exciting because I think, like you've done this, I'm sure, but people who haven't taken themselves out and the first dates with yourself or the first like time to the coffee shop by yourself, it's like weird because you're so stimulated by what other people are thinking or what you should do or looking around you that you're not even really with yourself. Mm-hmm. Yes, you're physically there by yourself, but you're not mentally there just alone. If I were to take myself out now, I wouldn't even probably notice anyone around me because I would just be so like in my zone and like, I'm literally dating myself right now kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there's so many different levels to taking yourself out and being actually alone mentally and not stimulated by everything around you. So I'm excited for people who are starting that journey because the first dates alone aren't really alone since you're so stimulated. But the 5th, the 6th, the months after you've spent more time alone, you're actually taking yourself out and dating yourself alone.
Mhm. I do think like I've had like moments or I've dipped my toe in, but I haven't fully like immersed into it. Because there's moments when like I'll be walking downtown and I don't notice a single thing around me. Like I'm just so present with myself, but they're like moments. It's not like a long span of time yet. So I am very excited.
So you know what I've been doing? My moments of alone time have gotten longer in terms of the mental aloneness, where you're actually present within yourself, have gotten longer, but I can feel and catch myself when I'm falling back out of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been journaling a lot, fuck ton more. And when my anxiety is higher, it's when I'm not fully grounded within myself. So I try to study what triggers pull me out of that. And that could just be like operating on someone else's schedule, which is a big one for me. I've been doing that for the past 3 years. So that's one thing, or just like being late to things, or just things that take you out.
Yeah. You start to get almost tied to, like you said, somebody else's schedule or just time. And something that's been very helpful for me is remembering that time doesn't actually exist. So yeah, we have the clock, we use it to make appointments and go to events and things like that, but it doesn't actually exist. Time is something that we made up to as a form of measurement. So whenever I start to feel anxiety, for me, it's usually around like the timing and wanting to control the timing. And so now that I have that awareness, like you said, it's almost easier to like catch it and then assess and be aware and then re-ground yourself and be present. And I can stop my anxiety so much faster now than I could before. And I just think it's really exciting, very exciting to be in this sort of transformational phase for the both of us. Like, I think we're in like different places, but parallel, if that makes sense. Like, we're going through our own separate individual journeys within ourselves and like learning our own lessons and like applying it to our own lives. But I do feel that there's like parallel shifts in that transformation. And so it's been really cool. It's been very exciting. I really like that you are articulating and setting your boundaries so clearly and you're not apologizing for it. I noticed that and I was like, wow, like I love that so much.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
That's so sweet. Oh my gosh. That's a big win.
It is.
Wow. Thank you. I didn't notice that, but I did notice. So in my hard conversation that I've recently had, I never said no to this certain person about anything for the past 3 years. So, and that's the same person that I would like operate my schedule towards. And so the goal right now is to say no to things that I like don't really want to do. If I, for example, hang out with people, if I rather hang out with myself. But I didn't realize I wasn't apologizing. I worded that right. I was not apologizing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you.
You're welcome. I just wanted to point that out because, yeah, I thought I really admired that because I think I'm like a bit of a people pleaser and I tend to apologize. Like, I'll be like, oh, no, I'm so sorry, like, blah, blah, blah. And I'll try to explain. But I think there's something so simple and effective and powerful about being able to set boundaries and not explain yourself and not apologize and just say, no, I'm not interested.
Yes, exactly. Because at the end of the day, number one, you're honoring yourself and your word. It's the truth. I know journaling has helped me a lot with that. Being able to express my feelings to a journal, knowing that this journal isn't going to backlash at me. This journal isn't going to judge me. I don't have to apologize to the journal because it's a journal. And then I take a step back and it's like, well, why do I have to apologize to you that I feel this way? I don't. And so it allows you to just express things in your fullest form without feeling judgment, even if the person you're talking to doesn't judge you. They have no bias. I truly believe journaling your feelings allows you to express them without feeling like you need to apologize to that person, even if they have no bias.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think as like women, we tend to do more of that? We tend to apologize more. I've noticed that with like men versus women.
Definitely.
Men are very comfortable just saying no. and being okay with it, not explaining, not apologizing. Whereas as a woman, sometimes I feel like I almost have to pad it.
Tiptoe.
Yeah.
Beat around the bush.
Exactly. And I just think it's really inspiring, and it's very cool to see ourselves stepping out of that and stepping into more confidence, more assertiveness, and being clear with like what we truly want.
So I haven't told anyone this, and I was going to tell Jay first. It's an idea. It's something that I'm thinking about because I'm going through a lot of my own like internal work, like we all are. But I'm learning a lot of lessons and things that I want to share. And I don't want to coach on mental health because, for one, I'm not a mental health coach. For two, I'm, in my eyes, I don't want to coach anyone on that when I feel like I'm so new to it. But I do know I'm learning a lot. So I want to send out, I don't want to say courses, but like an ebook of things you learn. Someone applies for us for an ebook, or they get a free ebook over macros or posing. It's free for us to inform them. Well, you can look at my little ebook blog for free to see the things that I learned that might apply to you.
Yeah.
And the way I'm going to word it is like definitely not, I'm doing this. It's more so, if you're feeling this way, try this or try that kind of thing.
This is what I've tried. This is what I've done. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool idea. Yeah.
Part of it's journaling. I shared on my story yesterday about how I used to think I was journaling. Now I know what journaling actually looks like. People don't know how to journal. I didn't know how to journal. No one ever teaches how do you journal except if you read like a book of how-tos. A lot of people don't like how-tos either. And how-tos they're not effective. They just tell you, but they don't. How-to
tells you how to think, and it puts it in a box. It gives you like an outline structure, and it narrows you down into what you can do versus actually learning by doing and learning by trying.
And a lot of the prompts, which I know you're big on this, affirmations. I love affirmations. They don't work for me in that way. If I affirm, I'm going to do this and be this, to me, they're just words. To me, they don't move anything. Like, they don't spark any, like, I think they're very beneficial to have within my week or life or journal, but they don't change me or influence me to really act upon change. What helps me act upon my change is more so breaking down the reasons why I'm not achieving a certain thing. So the prompts in terms of write 10 things you want to be or some things you're proud of, I can do that. And it will be beneficial. It will do something beneficial. But if I write something more so like, what's one thing that is triggering my anxiety today? Or what are my coping mechanisms and why are they there? That will affect me to change more so than writing the affirmation. Does that make sense? So the prompts that I am finding that I like to journal are different than what I usually see in a how-to book.
That makes sense. I think growing up, I was always a reader, and so that naturally translated into writing. But what I've learned over the years, for me, what works with journaling is connecting to it. So I think some people sit down and they go to journal and they don't know what to write. So it's just kind of surface level, off the cuff, like, I am strong, I am proud of myself for this. But they're not really feeling into it. For me, the key with journaling was immersing myself into what I was writing and allowing my feelings and emotions to come out onto the page. So sometimes it wouldn't even be full sentences. Like, it would just, it was like my free flowing consciousness and emotions, and whatever I was thinking through or feeling that day, I would write down. I've had a diary since I was like 8 or 9, and I still have a diary. And if someone were to read it, they'd be like, whoa, okay.
Let's close
that. Yeah. But I think it's been so helpful to have that documentation, because even when I go back to like middle school and like entries in my diary from middle school, I've always been such an emotional person, and I've put it into that writing. And so it's been really fun to go back and read and be like, wow, that state of mind and where I was at then compared to now, all the growth and all the experiences, everything I've been through, what I've like felt through. It's been very empowering. And I think why I use affirmations is because I do feel them. Like I don't say like I am going to be my best today. I just say I am my best today. And I feel that. Like it's a feeling. So when I say I'm grateful for X, Y, and Z, and I do my gratitudes every morning, I have that feeling in my like in my body. Like I feel like the warmth of gratitude, the joy, the love, just like I'm receiving. It's almost like I'm receiving a gift from the universe. I'm like, I'm so grateful for my legs today. They work, they're pumping blood, they have muscle, like they carry me everywhere. And I can feel it. And I think that's kind of the key with journaling, is you have to open yourself up to allow yourself to pour onto that page and not just go through the motions, like not just write what you think you should be writing. You have to take your mind out of it and let your emotional body kind of flow through.
I agree. Two things. So number one, you and I journal differently, and it works really good for both of us. I think people should try both.
Yeah.
And I think people who are new to journaling, starting your way is much easier, because it's not asking you to find triggers within yourself. And that is a different type of journaling, in terms of a lot of people don't want to like look internal in that way. They want to manifest how they want to feel in this moment, but they also want to manifest who they want to become, which is a much more empowering and powerful way to journal and be.
Yeah.
And I do think it's because I think you can journal different ways and different types depending on the season of life you're going through as well. I think we're at two different seasons in terms of how and where we are reflecting. That's why our journaling also is a little bit different, but both are super effective. And I love that you feel like you said it perfectly. You just got to let everything flow and feel.
I think if people are willing to give it a try, they'll find what works best for them, because it might be a mix of our methods. It might be something different. Like it's going to be individual. Everything's individual.
Yes. So I do, you know what I did yesterday for the first time? Oh, this is fun. Most of my journaling has been what I just said, is finding triggers and like circling back to my childhood, XYZ kind of things. Yesterday I had a conversation with someone, and usually the emotions that I feel, I'd either numb or either know that they're there and be aware of them, but not really dive deep into allowing them my attention. Yesterday, I decided instead I was just going to journal every thought and question and insecurity and fear that I had. And I was just going to write every single one down, no matter what it looked like. And that was super powerful, because there wasn't, like I said, again, your journal can't judge. It can't say no. It can't say yes. It can't say actually. It just is there. So I do feel like if you're someone who's in a sticky situation, or you don't know what to do, or stay with that in that relationship, or take the job, or quit the job, or talk to your friend, or XYZ, just journal every option. Like you can write them out. Like, what are my options? What are my fears within each option? What do I fear in terms of the future, or how this person may react? Or what if they find X? Or what if I'm not good enough? Or what if XYZ? You can literally write, I don't feel worthy enough. And people think in a journal you're supposed to affirm, I am worthy. If you feel like you're not worthy, write it down, because that's the truth. Like that's what I had to do. Like I feel I'm scared that X might happen, and if this happens, I won't feel worthy enough to achieve my dreams. It's not decreasing your power as an individual if you are aware and actively willing to look into and lean into the insecurities that you have. It's actually going to empower you more as an individual to actually look at that and be like, why do I feel this way? Is it because of the way my childhood was? Is it because my role model growing up was this certain person and they were always insecure in their worth and power and they treated others this way and that's why I treat others this way? Mm-hmm. All these, like, that's where I'm saying, like, the journal can allow you to look back or look internally in different aspects. Super powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. I really love that. I think that's very helpful. And I definitely think that's something that I could try as well. Like, to shift focus a little bit and address some of the...
I never did it before. Yesterday, it was so funny because I was sitting there and I was like on my walk and I was like, dude, there's so many questions going on in my head. Like, why haven't I allowed myself to just get them out? Like, how many insecure questions are there? How deep, how vulnerable and how deep and how insecure can I get within these thoughts? Because I knew at the root and the deepest insecurity that I have, that's where I'm able to find myself a new path or honestly build upon that. Because building upon insecurity can be very powerful. And it's also one of the most powerful places that humans react towards. Just like if you're competing, someone next to you is better than you, they have better glutes. Well, you're insecure about your glutes. So of course you're going to train harder to beat them. Right? Well, it's the same thing here.
Yeah, it can apply like across the board.
Yeah.
For sure. Gosh, that is really powerful. I love that a lot. Do you... Actually, no.
You can ask.
Should I?
Yeah. I want you to ask anything. I love questions.
So this podcast was supposed to be completely different. We had a different podcast lined up for y'all. And so I was like, do I take it in this direction or do we keep going? So I think we're going to keep going and we'll do the topic next. But
yes, I know. I was like, should I ask her if we could just talk about journaling instead?
Oh, yes, let's do it. Okay. So I recently have found that a lot of the time my anxieties are all rooted from one single like fear or one deep thing within me that I'm not willing to address. And so it ends up stemming into multiple things. And then I don't see them. It's almost like a tree. Like I have this like seed of maybe I feel unworthy. And that is the actual issue. Like that's what needs to be addressed. That's what I need to look at. But if I don't, it ends up sprouting into different insecurities. And then on the surface, they look unrelated and all different. Like it could be like in relationships, in training, in my diet, like at work. And so I've recently found like, no, I need to get to the root of it. And one of the ways that I've done that is by having uncomfortable, hard conversations. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like it's been the same for you? Like having to have these conversations?
Yes. I feel like the conversation with myself first and foremost. I want to dive into what
like
you
through
said.
Journaling or...
I do. I'm gonna share one thing that I learned that's based off what you said, and then I'm gonna ask you questions if you're okay with. I know there's levels to opening up on a podcast, so whatever boundary you want to put there.
Oh, you're good. Yeah.
So last week I was in my car and I was assessing. My biggest thing is codependency. I've been so codependent on Justin, and my second biggest thing is being codependent on food. And that's why I had an eating disorder growing up, which I'm still assessing different reasons of why food was my coping mechanism as a kid. Mm-hmm. But I know right now there's a lot of different reasons why it was, but the main thing is I didn't have an issue with food. It wasn't the flavor that I was missing. It wasn't the fact that I wanted to feel full like you do in a prep and people binge eat. Like coming out of prep, you binge eat because you want to feel full because you haven't had cake in X weeks and that's your favorite food, right? Yeah. I was binge eating because of weaknesses that were in me that I didn't want to face. And the dopamine hit that I would get from eating was the same type of dopamine hit that son gets from using drugs or steroids or sex. If they're like sexually addicted, that's the same thing I had with food. And so it was also, as I was having that dopamine trigger, masculine energy would be like, stay disciplined, you don't need it. Feminine energy would be like, I love you even if you binge eat. And then I was having this shift here, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in more of my feminine energy right now. So finding the balance between saying no to whatever coping mechanism that you want, being masculine, and then being okay and accepting that even if you have a weak point where you cross a line with yourself or you break a boundary, you still love yourself and know that you're just as worthy. If you can find the balance between those two, as you're overcoming your coping mechanisms and facing them and trying to get to the root cause, it's going to allow you to understand yourself better. I think there's so many different levels to understanding the why you don't feel worth in yourself. And it's only something that you can answer for yourself. And it's only going to be answered when you're willing to go as deep as you can. And by that being said, you can go as deep as you want right now and you may not get the answer, but you going deep will allow you to find the answer later in the week through whatever evolutions come. Do you think that the reason why you don't, and correct me if I'm wrong, you feel like you aren't worthy? Is that right? Or is it towards something? What are you not worthy of? It's okay not to know.
Maybe like right off the top of my head, like surface. I don't know if this is like 100% true, but like worthy of success, of the good things that have been happening to me. Like,
yes,
I don't feel like I'm worthy of them. And at the same time, they're happening to me and it's not enough. Like, I objectively can step back and say, wow, a lot of the goals and dreams that I've had for myself are literally unfolding right before my very eyes. And I don't feel anything. And it's a little scary. Like, it's like, okay, well, am I not worthy of this success? Or have I not reached enough success yet? Does that make sense? Like, I feel like it's a multifaceted issue.
No, it makes sense. It does make a lot of sense to me, at least. But I have two questions that I'm going to ask you. But first, I think assessing what points within your success trigger your dopamine hit. So for example, you may not be money focused. So if you see you get a 12-month sign up, you're more excited that you got the commitment of 12 months from the person versus if it's $500 or $1K. So knowing that like your dopamine hits are what you get most excited for, it will help you find the excitement in seeing the success points as you build it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you feel like this feeling, and it's okay to not know, and it's okay if you haven't let yourself go that deep yet, do you feel like this feeling is rooted in the person that you looked up to the most as a child or your childhood?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Because when I look back at my childhood, I don't think that I looked up to any one person.
Who were you around the most?
My friends, I think. Something that my dad said to me a few weeks ago that's like really stuck with me was he reminded me that when I was younger, I was very easily influenced by my peer group, by my friends. What my friends did, I did. What my friends liked, I liked. Whatever they wanted to do, that's what I wanted to do. So I think for me growing up, it was my friend group more so than like a member of my family. Or
can I say something?
Yeah.
Is that where you got your people pleasing from? Because you'd please and follow your friends.
Yeah, probably.
So the people pleasing has you created it, or society created it, for whatever you want to call it, when you were a kid, and you carried that as a trait and characteristic throughout your life until this point where you're able to recognize that and be aware and want to change aspects of your life to better help you. And as kids, we adopt everything that's around us. So for you, you're people pleasing. You adopted that because you were just a kid. It's natural for kids to do what their friends do, right? That's so natural. But I asked the question so that gives you answers too. There's a lot. If you're around your friends all the time, what did your friends do? What did you do? Like, why do you? I think that you can ask yourself a lot of questions right now on things that you do or traits or ways that you think, or saying yes and not. Maybe not apologizing when you say yes. Maybe you apologized a lot internally when you were a kid, when you said no, or you felt bad, or you felt guilty, or you had FOMO as a kid, and then you ended up just people pleasing and going off to hang out with them. Just super normal kid thing to do.
Yeah. I think that this conversation is very helpful because I can now take this and look at different ways of asking myself these questions and like center it around like a specific theme. So instead of me just asking like, oh, why am I this way? I can kind of pinpoint like, why did I feel like I had to say yes to my friends when I was a kid? Why do I feel like I have to say yes to everyone now? Like, how can I explore that further? I think that's very helpful.
I want to dive in so deep with you. I think this is the most exciting thing ever. I love like being able to watch light bulbs go off in your head.
Bing, bing, bing.
Yeah. But it's fun. It's very, I think that's the most empowering feeling. And I also think it's so empowering because a lot of people aren't willing and don't know how to do that. Society, dude, no offense, love everyone. There's so many followers. Just, they can't like think past this lens of opinions all the time.
In what ways?
Like, a lot of people won't ever understand themselves or be able to ask themselves questions like that. Like, why am I this way? I was a follower as a kid. That's why I people please now. A lot of people just think, I people please right now. How do I stop that? And they think they're stopping that by saying no more often, but they don't ever know the root of how they got there.
Do you think what I've noticed is people also like to tie themselves to that identity? So they'll just accept like, oh, well, I'm a people pleaser, and they label themselves as that, and then they just carry that forward for the rest of their lives instead of, like you're saying, trying to dig deeper and figure out why. Like, people will label themselves so quickly, like, oh, I like to control everything. Oh, I'm just like a really stressed person. And they're not willing to dive deeper and look into it and see, well, why are you this way? How did you get this way?
Yeah.
What are things that you do that confirm this bias, but then what are things that you do that don't confirm it? And like, let's focus on those. Let's like dive into that.
I agree. When I was growing up, I had one of my best friends. Her name was, she doesn't listen to this. Her name was Gabby. And she was the most popular one in our group. I was in elementary school. She was great at singing, very out there, very pretty. And she would call me an airhead, which basically is like calling someone dumb. And at the time, like I was elementary, so I don't know what age that is. That's young.
Yeah, like 9.
And at first, like, it didn't trigger anything. But when you get called it so much by your best friend, the one that's like the most popular, like the highest, like you believe that, even if you don't know what it actually means, and you realize it means basically like you're stupid. And so I adopted that mindset in some ways, subconsciously or not, that I was stupid, and going like being in after school programs, because like Luke was, I don't know if I was dyslexic. My mom never told me. I do think I was dyslexic in ways. That's why I couldn't read well. Growing up, like last year, I didn't think I could learn. Like I thought I had to find a way to learn new knowledge because I just could not learn things. I thought podcasts were the only ways that I could learn knowledge and actually soak it up, which now I love to read. I rather read than do much.
Yeah.
So it's just like, if I didn't look back, I would believe that I was dumb in some ways and could not learn things based off the way that the person I looked up to in my friend group told me I was dumb. So I am dumb. I was an after that, like, you believe it so much to the point where you convince yourself, oh, I just can't learn new things as well as other people, which is totally false. So once you can go back and realize, oh, this isn't true. That's just an opinion that I grabbed onto. And then you realize, actually, I'm really smart and I can learn a lot and learning is easy kind of thing. So you are able to unravel these things that you didn't realize you grasped to, and you're actually the opposite of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mom, I'm going to share one more because this one's big. Okay.
Yeah, do it.
My mom, love her to death.
Does she listen?
She does.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
My mom listens too. Shout out, Mom.
She was my biggest role model growing up. And my first year of high school was a party girl. Second year of high school, the party friends I had graduated. So I like hung out with other people or older people. They graduated, so I was like a loner. My last 3 years of high school, I was just doing me, like, by myself. And so I would hang out with my mom or myself all the time. And she retired when I was in this phase. So given I was around her all the freaking time. My mom's a very emotional person, very emotional. And that's just her way of expressing things. She just cries, and that's okay. I'm a very emotional person. I cry. I do think part of that is genetics as well. Being emotional in those ways, maybe wrong, whatever. Doesn't matter. Whenever she used to cry, most of the time her answer towards her crying was that she was just being overreactive. My dad's response to my mom when she used to cry at certain things is that she's just being overreactive. Like, she's just emotional. She's just being overreactive. And even though she didn't mean that negative towards herself and he did not mean that negative towards her, I adopted that as being, every time I cry, I'm overreacting. And so belittling myself of, this isn't, like, you don't need to do this. You don't need to cry. You don't need to be over dramatic per se. Even if I wasn't, that's what I would tell myself. Therefore, my mom believing that she was overreacting or being too dramatic limited her way of communicating her thoughts and feelings. If you just put one word on it, I'm overreactive, everything that you're feeling doesn't hold any power. My communication style with Justin, and honestly every person in my life, but especially the people I've been romantic with over the past, 5 years, my communication sucks. I couldn't say anything that I felt. I didn't know how to. I didn't know what to do. I would be able to tell you everything I felt, and I would face them and be like, oh my God, just blink. That is because I always felt like I was overreactive. I couldn't communicate my things because throughout my childhood and growing up, I adopted that same emotion of the Band-Aid of being overreactive over every feeling that I had. Therefore, it was just like numbing. And so now that I'm aware that the reason why my communication sucked with Justin was because I adopted that idea. And once I let that go, I've been able to say everything that I want to freely, because I know that feelings are feelings and thoughts are thoughts. And number one, they can change in the moment. And number two, they're so valid. And number three, no one can tell you if you're being overreactive or what's true or how to feel at all. Like, you can express anything and it can be wrong in everyone else's eyes, but because you feel it's right for yourself. So that's just another one.
I like that example a lot because I think it's very relatable for a lot of people, especially going back to like your parents or your childhood. I definitely think there's a lot of people out there who will resonate that, like, oh yeah, my parents did X, Y, Z, and that's why I do this. The key is you recognize it and you observe it and you have thought about it, probably journaled about it, and you can accept it and like let it go. And now you can just free flow. Like, you're not using it as an excuse. because I do think that that's also a common theme that we see. Even like I'll see it amongst my athletes. They'll reference like their family members or their friends, stories that they've been told and how they've basically like translated that into like, this is just the way that I am. That explains it. But it's now my excuse. It's my story. It's my identity.
If you're not able to be aware, you're never going to change. So I would have always believed that was just the way I am. And now that I know that I can literally get rid of that thought about myself, then it's easier to act upon change. Yeah. It's fun. Dive in deep.
It is very fun. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to think, should we wrap up this journaling episode and then
we'll do more journaling episodes like this.
Yeah.
I'll also be sharing a freaking ton. I can tell I've been in a weird place of content because I've been finding myself more. So I know exactly what I want to share and how I want to impact more so than just like, hey, I can teach you macros. Let me show you how to lose weight. Dude, you can go hire someone else to lose weight, or you can hire me. Like, you're going to get the same result of losing weight. I want to teach you the things that I'm learning. And so my content's trying to change too. I'm trying to like find that. I don't even know how this came up.
No,
like, let's wrap up. And I was like, hold up. But
no, I think that makes sense. Like, as you grow and change, like your content is also going to shift with it.
Yeah.
And there's always that like transitionary period. It's like the awkward period where you're going through change. So you have like content that's been created when you were Danielle from last week, and now you're Danielle from this week. And so like
like all of that's going to be used on the TM page. And the thing is too, like all that content is like useful for coaching. And as much as like I'm going to stay a coach because for one, I'm really good at it. For two, I love it. I also recognize other things that I want to coach in.
I think that's really fun. That's really cool. Yeah.
Yay. Big stuff.
Yes. Big, exciting stuff coming. Well, thank you for diving in. This was like a little bit more of a vulnerable, personal episode, but I think those are the best ones. And I hope that y'all enjoyed listening. We'll be back at it again next time.
Thank you for listening to our podcast, Becoming Relentless. We hope that you leave this podcast feeling really relentless. That's what our goal is here. Please leave us a 5-star review. If you want to reach us, you can reach us through DM. My Instagram is Danielle Kusenberger. Noa, where can they find you?
My Instagram is Noa McCabe _IFBB Pro. And our Becoming Relentless podcast Instagram will also be linked in the bio. Make sure that y'all keep coming back every week. Like, share, subscribe. We love being tagged in your stories. And as always, leave us a comment, any questions, and we'll catch you on the next one.